Oh man, you always have vibes, bro. I swear. Y'all, welcome to Grown Folk Friday. I am super excited because not only do I have the Love King here, but we are celebrating. Okay, the new album is out. Like, how excited are you about that? Yes, round of applause, round of applause.
Super excited. I always had post album, pre album anxiety. Like even the 8 albums in, like it's been very hard to sleep this week. Like for me, so I'm looking forward to sleeping like a baby at some point tonight. I always wonder, different questions come to mind, like how it's you never want to fall off. You know what I mean? Like you always want to be the best at what you do, and you in that this period of my life, I want to but I always also want to represent like growth and like maturity in the craft of what I do. Um, you always hope that you make some new fans. You know what I mean? Like some new music lovers, some new people come along for the ride, and discover you for the first time. I never, if the world knew my name, it would be no need for interviews or any, you know what I mean? If everybody knew who you were, that'd be kind of arrogant of you to think that everybody knows who Raheem Devaughn is. So,
That's hard anyway. You like to touch the people. I think even if everybody knew you, like you said, I think you would still do interviews. You would still do intimate shows because that's just who you've always been throughout your career. You
yeah,
people, and I think that's what people love so much, about you. They feel like they've grown with you throughout this entire time. Like you're not new to this, Raw. Okay, so
yeah.
fans are very loyal, and every album you do get new fans, and it just keeps building and building. So don't think you're not like everybody don't know your name, okay? Because
No,
trust me,
I know.
in the
But it's just
conversations.
again when it's a not everybody can say they dropping their eighth album and it's number one right now and it's doing well on the digital platforms where that's where like that's where the new millennial lives now, you know what I mean, like
Yes,
and
yes.
I'm thankful and present. I'm happy, I'm humble, and I'm glad that it's just the first, it ain't been 24 hours yet and it is being received so well.
Yeah.
So I'm thankful.
Yeah. So let's take it back. Let's go through your journey a little bit because so much has changed even within like from your first album when you dropped, right? All the
Mhm,
way up until now, you kind of had to ride that wave of
mhm.
the industry, but you still managed to stay within your own lane. Like I can't like you don't veer too much off, like even if it's activism, if you're talking about something, serious, community wise, whatever it is, it still has that Raheem Devaughn vibe. Was this something that you always wanted to, that you had in mind for your path? Like, I'm going to do everything creative I want to, but I know that I have like a lane that I'm staying in? Or
Yeah,
are
I'll
you
be honest with you. I
branching?
didn't realize I didn't realize I had carved out my own lane to probably about like 24 months ago. 70, like yeah, yeah, like you know what I mean. Like there were men artists. We can be insecure just like everybody else. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm in a place where I enjoy hearing myself like sonically. Um, I feel like I've become a master in my craft. You know what I mean? And sometimes, and for some people, that takes longer than others. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? So like in a really so if that, I think that's the energy people are feeling on the record. That's the voice is cutting through differently, and and understanding the instrument that I have, but more importantly, like the gift that I have and the purpose of it. You know what I mean? And being comfortable and cool with that, and understanding um, having your own lane has challenges because when you're not doing what everybody else is doing,
Yeah.
you know, sometimes you might feel like you miss out on certain opportunities or certain things don't come your way, or
Like
you know what
what
I mean? It's like
type of opportunities do you feel like you may have made people may have tried to box you into a certain sound or genre or whatever you want to call it, what
It's
opportunity?
not so much. It's not so much the boxings, but you know what I'm saying. Like I I would love to do like a Soul Train cipher, or you know what I'm saying, just different things, like different accolades, or certain nominations, or you know what I mean. Where I feel like my last album is crazy, the Love Reunion. You know what I mean? Like, so it's just the album before that. Like it's gems on every project. Or lead all the way back to the Love Experience, but it's also understanding that everything has its place, has its time, and ultimately what's for you is for you. So finding the peace in that, like I'm cool. The same person I was, I'm not the same person I was even a year ago. You know what I mean? Like
I always say that we're always shifting.
personality wise, spiritually wise, like especially on that tip. You know what I mean? So, yeah, it's the main thing I focus on is being consistent. It's consistency, right? And how to be a breath of fresh air within that word consistency.
And when you are, I guess, when you're trying to come up with the inspiration for a new album, new project, where do you go for that inspiration? What's your motivation when you sit down to, start a new album? Do you look at the things that you've been throughout that year or however long it's been in between the album? Do you reach out, do you have stories already in mind that maybe your friends have gone through or somebody vented to you about it? Like what
If
do you pull
if
that?
you asking me how much of my music is me and do I wear it on my sleeve? Like absolutely. Do I live vicariously through others and like creatively? Absolutely. Like it's everything is in real time, and it depends on what my energy is that day, what time of the day it is. Typically, a lot of times I'm recording at between the hours of like midnight and 5 a.m. So midnight and 5 a.m. It ain't nothing but open. But prior to COVID, the
What
pandemic,
grandma say?
but
Legs.
it ain't. Look, at that time of the night, it ain't nothing open but legs, studios, strip clubs. You know what I'm saying? Like that type of thing. And then typically, I'm in the studio. Like that's my. I've come to understand and learn. That's my lady. A lot of time, you know what I'm saying. That's like that's the woman. That's my main. That's my lady. That's my wife. Pretty much. That's what I spent. You know what I mean?
I
So
mean,
it's like so
as
you can
artists,
imagine.
it could be that could be a lot too if you are, if you have a lady or you're trying to, you know, build this relationship. It has to be something that is understood. That do you feel is your music your priority when it comes to dealing with those situations?
I mean, it's always it's my now my priority is me. You know what I'm saying? Like I've learned how to make me the priority. Like, and there's nothing wrong with that. And happiness requires self. You got to be able to tap into yourself, so about the things you want, what you don't want. Um, and you might look. I think that's probably the biggest thing for me. I realized through the pandemic, like I looked up and realized, like, yo, you've been taking care of this person or that person, or worried about this or whatever. And it's like, but who's taking care of you and how are you pointing to you? You know what I'm saying? Like, um, so with that, it starts there, you know what I'm saying, and that spiritual connection with the creator, with God, the most high. And from there, the priorities of, like, for me, my priorities are my family, my children, you know what I'm saying, making sure being provide. And and thankfully I have a gift that allows me to do that. So I have to spend, with the time that I have to spend to do that is not your average time. I've been independent since it'll be 10 years of January 1st, 2021. So I make it look easy, but it's not. What I do is not.
Like album after
Yeah,
album after album, and that consistency, that sound that you are consistently giving, the quality that you're consistently giving, like it takes time. And you're giving yourself, your art, you're giving so much of yourself to us. So it's like, yeah, how do you,
that's dope. I mean,
reach
some
out?
women don't
You
like
feel yourself.
fact that you're a woman and you can pinpoint that and really understand that, a lot of women can't swallow that pill. You know what I'm saying? Like, but you too, being in the field that we in, like you get it. You know what I mean? Like, and it's you know,
I see both
and,
sides of it though.
and
I understand both sides of
yeah,
it.
you have to be, and I have to be unapologetic in my passion for it, my hunger, the addiction, the focus. You know what I'm saying? That it requires. You know what I mean? Um,
But then it also
so
comes back to you, just like you said, though, with quarantine, I think everybody kind of got, the people who are always hustling, bustling, who are always moving and grinding, had to stop, had to sit down, had to really focus. And then you're like, dang, is this what it
and
feels
look,
like to
but you,
chill?
but
Like,
but here's and you stop for a minute, but then you can't stop for too long though. Like, you know what
oh,
I'm saying? It's like it
I'm
helps,
nonstop.
it helps it helps you prioritize though. It definitely helps you prioritize to say, hey, you know what? In order to unfortunately achieve this, I may have to walk away from that, or I might have to scale back on this, or you know
Right.
what I'm saying, put more focus here to be able to do what I need to do. Take 5 steps back to take 20 steps forward, if that makes sense.
No, because that's what sometimes it takes that. Like it takes something to happen to get you to slow down. And then you start realizing all these little things like, oh shoot, maybe I
The
should
things
focus
you need to
on
the
this.
things you need to fix the things you need to fix around you.
Right, exactly.
You know what I'm saying? Some in some cases you may become a casualty. Things may become casual to you. Your relationship, your friends, family, certain people, a job, whatever the case may be. Um, because if the energy ain't right around you for what you need to accomplish, you know what I'm saying? Because we all have a path. Like we have a goal. I wouldn't necessarily call it a goal, but a purpose. Excuse me. We have a purpose, and you can't, to fully serve your purpose. Um, this might sound weird or selfish, but like everybody around you got to serve your purpose for you to be able to serve the purpose that you have to serve.
That is what it's all about. And I
Yeah,
realized that getting older, especially in my 30s, just the hustle and bustle, the industry stuff, everything. And you slowly begin to realize that it's almost like, I don't want to call people a weight, but that's what it feels like. It feels
no,
like
no, no.
something is
This is
like a weight. And you're like,
that's exactly what it is. It's a time. This is a time. This is a very special time. You know what I'm saying? That's why originally that my album was gonna be called "What a Time to Be Alive," but it's actually like um in the form of the flesh, like we're not gonna be here forever. But the love that we'll have for our loved ones, if the lights go out tomorrow, you lose your loved one tomorrow, or they lose you, that love, that's forever.
right, right.
And so I always try to operate in that frequency, you know what I'm saying, musically, and operate in that manner at all times.
You were one of the first artists that when quarantine hit and everybody was home and everybody was going to like club quarantine, and the DJ started doing their thing. You were like one of the first artists that I saw that was actually getting a bag, because you were charging for you had like a virtual kind of experience, kind of
Yeah,
like what Erica did, but I feel like it was before Erica.
it was, it was, it was, it
Yeah, and
was.
I was just like, it just spoke to how much of a hustler you are and how you can shift and pivot. I mean, some artists, not even some, a lot of artists were kind of like lost,
It,
like, oh my gosh,
it was,
I
yeah, it
can't
wasn't
tour,
so much.
do clubs.
It wasn't it wasn't so much about the bag, because the bag is definitely different right now in terms of like what we're used to,
Yeah,
as and so, but it was definitely about um the animal instinct of hustle, survival, going to survival mode, being an independent artist, knowing that I don't have the cushion of being able to call a major label distributor and say, hey, da 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 da, you know um the big advance, what I'm saying, that which is a loan that a lot of artists depend on, you know what I mean? So um it's kind of like that old snap moment, you know what I mean? Where it's like, I think everybody had it. Like everybody had it, you know what I mean? Like, how's this gonna, if you're in real estate, how's this gonna affect me? If if you're in a work industry that doesn't, what they call it,
Hospitality,
if you're in brick, what they call a brick and mortar,
brick and
like,
mortar.
like
Yeah.
it's a huge hit right now. Like, so, so yeah, the pivot has always been, when I was on Job Records and they were trying to figure it out, or I feel like they didn't know what they had. Um, my pivot was being the first guy to do mixtapes, soul and R&B mixtapes. That's what I did. I took people's beats. I went and took 50 Cent's formula, added it with little Mike Jones, and then made it my thing, and made it with some rock, with a nice, quarter ounce of Raheem Devaughn, and a splash of this and a splash of that, and made it my thing. You know what I'm saying? And then and other artists started to fall suit. I think probably, as far as like my genre, you talking about R&B. I think that artists that benefited from something I created was probably Trey Songz. You know what I'm saying? Because he was down at VA and he saw the formula, he took it and ran with it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's a thing of being resilient, right? That's what we are as a race of people. It's not about, I had to learn that and understand it too. That it's not about who did it first. It's about, or necessarily who does it best. It's about aspiring to inspire. You know what I mean? And you sit back and you like, yo, this is crazy. Like
Like, how does that feel when you see uh artists that clearly have, taken a little bit from your blueprint, and maybe they, because you went independent for a reason, right?
hmm
And,
hmm
so, and we can get into that too, like your reasoning for being independent and not
yeah,
really like having that machine behind you. And
yeah.
then the artists who are kind of like taking a little bit of your blueprint, and then they have that machine behind them, and it's kind of like, we know as fans of Raheem Devaughn, like we know that they had that blueprint, but on a larger
It's cool.
platform, does it feel? How does it feel to?
It's cool. Like, I mean, I had to learn. Like I said, I had to learn to humble myself and understand that what we do, first of all, it doesn't belong to us. So we're here to aspire to inspire one another. You know what I'm saying? So like, um, I'd be cool with it. Like, actually, it's kind of dope. Like, I'd be on to the next thing. Like, I get my roses. I remember long ago, like, just we doing topic of Trey, for example. Like, he pulled me to the side like long ago. This was like, you know what I'm saying, and gave me my roses, and I gave him his. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, it's cool. Like, and there's things that he's done that somebody else can sit and from a whole, from some small town or somewhere else that's doing their thing,
Yeah,
that that you aspire to inspire, and that's what we do
I mean,
for the.
we are all inspired by
Yeah,
someone. Like,
yeah.
I'm sure you can name who are the top 5 artists that inspired you. When you first got into, when you first started singing, and you first
hmm
realized, like, you know what, this is something I want to do. This feels good, and I'm sure there
So
are
so
artists who inspired you.
so so Marvin Gaye, of course, um, Prince Roger Nelson,
Mm,
um, Bob Marley.
mm,
Those are my, you know what I'm saying?
mm,
I take those three. Um,
man.
Believe it or not, 50 Cent, that whole G Unit movement. Like, that's why if it wasn't, that whole mixtape wave, you know what I'm saying? That's where I got it from. Like, that's, you know what I mean?
That
Um,
that was the secret sauce. Like, that was.
yeah, and me personally, um, my brother in music, Wes Felton, W. Ellington Felton, you know what I mean, who I do the Crossroads with.
Right.
Um, iron sharpens iron. You know what I'm saying? So it's something about when me and him get together and we make music. And it was just always like that from the beginning of the time. Like, when we get on stage together and do things, you know what I'm saying? So it's kind of like, those are people that you keep in your circle. Those are people that you continue to like make art with. Like, the first, everybody always raves about, seeing, the times where I had the Mott Pender painting on stage. And then, I later on brought Wes in to do the same thing. I saw Wes. I got that from Wes. I saw that. I saw it in one of my current on my team right now. There was an event used to happen called Groove Gumbo. That was shout out to one of my partners on my team, Tone Walters. So I came to Groove Gumbo, and I remember one of the first things I saw was like Wes on stage doing whatever he was doing, maybe performing, maybe hosting, maybe rapping, maybe singing at that time.
Yeah.
And there was an artist that was on stage, and it was like, yo, that's a vibe. You know what I'm saying? So, I think it becomes a thing where you take or borrow something from someone and you don't give them their roses, where it becomes like it can become an issue. It can become an issue for some people. But as a creative, when you're a real true creative, like you go into the next thing, and you don't have time to really kind of get caught up in that. I did podcasts before I knew I was actually doing a podcast, or that I knew the podcast would be doing what they're doing now.
Everyone has.
I had podcasts. It was like everybody came through and did my show.
Studio too. All that.
Yeah, the Raheem Devaughn show, Studio 202. Shout out to previous partner Ron Dixon. We did that. We did that for 3-4 years. Funny Man Skiba, Deja Perez.
Deja.
And even with that was an iron sharpening iron experience. You know what I'm saying? To be able to work with somebody like Deja or Suge, who were in the radio world, they were from that world. You know what I mean? There were times I came in there, I didn't know what I was. You kind of fake it till you make it and figure it out, and then I look up and I'm doing interviews with like T.I. for 2 and 3 hours, or Boney James or Marsha Ambrose. I mean, everybody came through. Kendrick Lamar. We helped break like artists here, in the city at that time. By the way, I do have a podcast coming soon. I can't speak on it, but it's going to change the game. I can't say who it's with, but we, now that
why can't you tell me like who you doing? Like you have a co-host? It's like a co-host?
Yes, it is. I got non-disclosure. I got non-disclosure. I can't talk about it.
Okay. I feel like I want now. It's like don't do that to us.
And and I've been acting. I mean, it's a movie coming out, Available Wife.
No. Is it a woman?
I'll plead the fifth.
All right. I'm gonna try to figure it out, but okay.
Good luck.
Okay, so you have interviewed other artists, like you said, for your podcast, and probably artists, especially like Marsha Ambrose. It's like when you talk to other artists who do the same thing you do, what are some of the things that you learn from them in speaking with them that you apply to help now?
I mean,
your creative process.
I think the advantage I had in doing when I did the podcast, the podcast I was doing the Raheem Devaughn show, it was that I was an artist too, so it creates a safe space. Like I'm not gonna throw them under the bus. Like if there's certain things they don't want to talk about, I'm gonna respect that. Like and I know you know what I'm saying. Like in journalism and in media, sometimes you get a list of things, or they'll say, "Hey, look, this is off limits for Raheem," and then because somebody wants the clout or whatever, they may still go in for. Yeah, they may still go for the jugular.
It's a way to put it in a roundabout way, You gotta check the temperature, because sometimes sometimes it's the artist. I can say that it's not the artist who really doesn't want to talk about. Like sometimes the artist is like, okay, whatever, and it's their people who are like, oh no, don't do that. And so sometimes you check the temperature a little bit. They be like, oh yes, whatever.
So what I learned was the art form of like, if you sit there and talk to somebody long enough, they'll talk to you and vent, and before you know it, they'll be telling you all the juicy stuff that you know anyway.
Yeah.
That you understand that whatever. And that's I remember doing an interview with Miguel, and this was before the second album came out. It was the album before the Art Dealer Chick album, like the one with right and him revealing to the audience and that he talked more about his girlfriend and how they had been together since high school, and you know he went on to marry this girl or whatever. But I think it was a big deal at that time. I remember it being a big deal. I remember interviewing like ASAP Rocky before any world cared who he was. Like, you know what I'm saying? Kendrick Lamar, we cared then though too. Like it was like, yo, I had that, and he was a recluse. He had the hat down real low and just like his whole vibe. But I knew what it was with him. Like, you know what I mean? You know, it, it it's a what I've learned is that I think overall that we are human. We are the same. We are all one and the same. You know, we just have a different superpower than the next person. That's it. You know what I mean? Um, and that we all have things going on. You know what I mean? Personal, like, man, you know, I was sitting there with Tip. Tiny ass calling. He answering the phone right there. Boom, in the middle of the interview. She's like, "What up?" It was like, it was so dope. Dope time for me. I look forward to getting back to that. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, definitely some podcast stuff coming in the near future. Like, yeah, for sure. But it was like to be one of the first to be able to say I did that. You know, that's part of my, you know, it's part of my lineage, part of my history, you know?
Yeah. And you know, one thing that I know that everybody should know about you is that you give back. Like, it's not just like I'm performing and, you know, I put out albums, I'm just an artist. Like, you actually still touch the community, you partner, you do charity, you know. And how important was that for you to still stay connected, to give back, especially to the DMV area, you know, where you put us on your shoulders wherever you go. So how important was
Yeah,
that for
yeah.
you to do
I mean,
charity?
I love the DMV. I love DC. I love Maryland. I love Virginia. That's Baltimore on down. Like, I spent a lot of time in all places, you know what I'm saying? And, you know, home has just been like, it's always made me feel like home. It's always had my back, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know, back when, you know, Mayor Vincent Gray was in office, I received a key to the city. I felt like in a day in my name, that was it lit, I was lit, like on my birthday, you know, 2011. I'm like, yo, this is crazy. What does it mean? What is the what door does it open? You know what I mean? Yeah, and what it really meant was that it was time to be of service
Yeah.
to the people. It showed me what people thought about me, city officials, you know, everyone that was involved, and in the city, and then how many people came out to celebrate it. And it was like, you know what? I got to do something. Like, what, you know, I thought it was premature, and I was like, yo, what I need to do something. And so we started the Love Life Foundation. You know, one of the first events we did was the Queen for a Day spa takeover. You know, we used the record Queen to kind of cross promote it, the woman as well. But we did events like where we pampered and brought women in who were staying in shelters, who had just left severe domestic violence situations, and you know, and loved on them and pampered on them and laughed with them and cried with them and let them know that, like, you know, there's some real solid men in the world who don't put their hands on women, and you
Yeah.
know, or their kids, you know, and just like led by example. That morphed from that into a partnership with the AHF, with the AIDS Healthcare Foundation, you know, which is self-explanatory. You know, statistics on HIV and AIDS, and you know, we had that partnership for a few years. You know, feeding the homeless with a few good men like Tony Lewis Jr. And
Hey, Tony,
uh,
shout out to Tony Lewis Jr.
our Kitchen Crave family, and
Yeah.
DJ Quicksilver. You know, Spice Sweets and Angel.
Yeah.
Like these are real Washingtonians. I was born in Orange, New Jersey, and I grew up here, you know, in the DMV area. And you know, this is, I consider this home for me. But you know, this Tony, like what he, you know, his dad and the history, and you know, his book is so dope. And but he's just a community activist, and just you know, iron sharpens iron once again, just kind of surrounding yourself around those like-minded individuals. You know, how I move in humility is what I've seen from my peers. You know, Chuck Brown, like, was amongst the people. You know, before the world knew my name, I knew Backyard's name. You know, Backyard Band. You know what I'm saying? Big G, he moved amongst the people. Like, you know what I'm saying? There's something very mystique and humble about that. You know, and it's like, and I don't want to exclude anybody. There's a lot of people that move like that. Radio personalities, athletes,
I
whatever. But
agree.
yeah.
And I'm glad that you brought that helped me to segue right into my next question, just about preserving um, preserving DC culture. And
Mm-hmm.
you know, you had no issues. You would hop on stage at a go-go, you know, like you had no problem with incorporating go-go music into your music. And it kind of just
Mm-hmm.
intertwines. And like I said, you take us with you. You take the DMV with you wherever you go. So how important is it to preserve like our sound? How important was it for you to like at least pay, you know, pay tribute to the sound of DC within your music?
As of late, it's become so important that I started a go-go band. You know what I mean? So shout out to Boosie Vegas. You know, we do have a
Hey,
co-founder of the band. It's called the Crank Crusaders. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, and we've been recording.
cowbell. So am I? Can I get an audition or how? You know, am I?
Ab- absolutely,
Yes. Hey,
absolutely. Yeah.
DJ Rico, you hear
I
that?
say what? I say what? I say what? Yeah, but you know I live in the studio, so you can imagine how many songs we sitting on, and you know, and we just I'm learning a lot about the culture too. Anything I jump into, I don't want it to feel like a fad or something that I'm just doing. Like, you know what I mean? It's got to be authentic in a sense, and I believe the timing is right for everything. So we definitely been working on that in the midst of everything else I got going on, and we kind of like entering into that mixing and mastering stage, you know, and then we'll figure out what the packaging will be for it. And then it's crazy because then you know, pandemic hit, you know what I mean? It makes you have to regroup on a lot of things, including that, you know, and they've taken a huge hit. People don't understand how much importance of the live performance aspect, and that's how we survive as artists. A lot of times, you don't see a back end royalty or certain things like that. If you're not stream, you can stream music, but if it's not hitting a certain amount of streams, it's like the percentage on what we get paid as artists, like it's not, you know, it's disrespectful. So you know, you gotta constantly have multiple hustles, multiple stream of income, different, you know, I can jump in and out of different genres of music, you know, but you know, I definitely stand in solidarity with the go-go community, their struggles, you know, the adversities, and I look forward to seeing how, you know, the city embrace the culture of what we do, you know, my interpolation of it, you know, along with the Crank Crusaders when we drop that as well.
Okay. Listen, I can't wait to hear this go, and I am going to audition for that. So let's get into the album real quick because it's almost time to wrap up. Oh my gosh, like I really can talk to you forever. So let's talk about the new album. And Face was playing, you know, Face always shows you love. DJ Face, shout out to DJ Face. That's why I
Yeah,
said, wow, that's my DJ.
yeah.
No,
Hey, look, they both ours. You know, DJ
Rico
and DJ Dirty Rico, man. I love them, man.
and
You know, I go off energy, man. You know what I'm saying? And
yeah.
always. So, it's, man, not to exclude Face and Rico. That's his man. He just got the biggest heart, man. That's my brother. I love my Face as well. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? And I'm about, you know, lifting my people up and stuff like that. Face, he's on my last album. I think I gave him his first placement. Like,
Okay. And he
yeah,
was super hype about you.
on the last, yeah,
So,
he's on,
you know what?
yeah, he's on the project. You know what I'm saying?
Like,
So,
you guys.
and
But no,
we got some other things in the can too that's coming too. Yep.
like what?
More music. You know what I'm saying? I think DJ Fake is not just a
Oh, he
dope.
makes beats. Don't
Yeah,
he
he's
produces
exceptional.
now.
Yeah, he's a dope producer. Yeah, so we got some more stuff coming 2021, 2022.
So talk about some of the producers that that you work with on this project.
Well,
How
with I worked in particular with one set of producers, and he kind of like oversaw it, you know, reaching out to different cats and whatnot, you know, on a co-production tip. The colleagues, you know, my brother KP, you know, out of Atlanta, Georgia area, originally from Florida, and yeah, it came about like organically. Me and KP, we connected on social media, and I always done good business with him, done right by him, and vice versa. He's been on every album I put out since we connected, and we started like acquiring a large catalog of like songs in the vault, where it's like songs like I won't say necessarily sitting, but we got to get to that because I time period piece music. Like sometimes I'll be feeling like I'm ahead of the curve on certain things, so I'll be like,
slow it down just a little bit.
yeah, they ain't ready for that yet. Let me put that's 2025. I know it sounds crazy,
Wow, yeah,
but I'm
yeah,
like,
yeah.
nah,
No,
that's 2025. You know what I'm saying? Like prior to the pandemic, this wouldn't have been the album. This wouldn't have been the album that was going to come out. You know what I mean? That
what
now
made
that
what made it the album then?
just the time, being making music in real time, just kind of like wanted to make. If I wanted to put some music out, I was like, it's time to put music out. But
Yeah.
this ain't what people need right now. I gotta sit back and check the pulse of what people need, what's going on in the world, what's
Need
going on in my
a
life.
lot of love. A
Yeah,
lot
yeah,
of love.
yeah, like what's going on in my life, or what are people missing? A lot of people at home, a lot of couples at home, a lot of couples at home miserable. Some couples at home in love. Some couples ain't survived the pandemic. You know what I'm saying? So like,
But
um,
I wanted to get all up into that because the Love King, I'm sure, has some tips to keep the romance going during quarantine, keeping,
well, I mean, real quickly, um, well, I wanted to answer your first question first,
go
but
ahead.
but but
I
but
know.
yeah. So the album idea came together organically. It was a conversation happened one night.
Yeah,
This would be like real, still blacked out. Everything's kind of closed.
yeah.
Everything, and and I just remember even the first studio session going to record. Like there was a sense of anxiety that we had, kind of that I had from kind of like being out, and once I got past that, and I knew things were healthy over there and sanitary and everything, then it's gotten a rhythm, and then that became like I don't want to say a sense of escapism from home, but like it became like
That's the
being
zone that you're in. You in the zone with
yeah being a lockdown, psychologically not being able to work, like you know what I mean, and so 35% of the album probably was already recorded. the
yeah.
other the other 65, we created in real time, and it hasn't been 24 hours yet. Number one album on iTunes right now. Is doing well. um I've done interviews with like Sugar Hill Gang like in the last week. They got a podcast. I just had a BBC interview over in London. They bumping it in real time, like
Well, I
they bump.
know that you love your project. I know you love every single song on
Yeah.
there, but if you could pick one that you're in love with right now that everybody needs to listen to right now, what are you loving today?
Man,
It's
that's a
like
tough.
picking a child. I know it's like picking a favorite child, but
I can't. You have you have to listen to this body of work in its entirety. Like
yeah.
there's spoken word all through it. Shout out to Rob Brown, what I'm saying, U Street legend. Like on the
Well, no,
poet tip.
I want to know what you're feeling today. Like we're listening to the album, and it's like, oh, this is the one where I was talking
You
about.
know what it is? I see that special occasion is getting added to a lot of playlists, and I'm not surprised. Like you know what I'm saying? I had this conversation with my partners at the label. Like it was just like I knew that was gonna be the sleeper record. Me, is special occasion. Like I'm a I brought the bridge back to R&B. It's been missing for a minute. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people just been singing over that loop. So I brought the bridge back, and it's like the bridge feels so good on that one. Like it's funny. It's a joke that me and KP have because like and the engineer face because he'll do a beat for me and he'll send a beat and I'll do the record right. And I'll know it's gonna be a smash, and then I'll hit her back and be like, hey, you got to put that bridge, and you got to give me that bridge though, in that middle though. I need me a little bridge, and then he'll go in, and then sometimes he'll go in, he'll do it, he'll nail it, right? And then other times he'll be like, nah, that ain't. Let's go. Let's tweak a little more. Like, because with technology, you can do that in a manner where it's not a headache because
Yeah.
it's not like you stand in there and all these different musicians and so yeah, I think for like today it's special occasion. Tomorrow, it might be deep, deep. The next day, you know, it might be, you know, some nonsense that our current president says on television, and it's like, Lord help me. So it's just like, it depends. It goes from day to day.
Well, you know what? I am going to listen to the album in the car. This is how I feel and absorb new music. I got to get in the car.
You know how me and you rock. So I know you're going to be blunt, honest, and crucial. So I can't wait to hear what you.
What a time to love. I love it.
What a time to be. What a time to be in love. Yep.
What a time to be in love.
Yeah.
Rob, I feel like I can just. We have so much to talk about, so we have to do this again.
I would love to.
I am so happy that you were able to join me for Grown Folk Fridays today. Yeah. And I want to thank everyone for tuning in. Such a good time. Make sure you get the album and listen to it in its entirety. Feel the
congratulations. And look, and congratulations on your evolution too and your success. Because you know how we come up with this together, and you're looking good, girl. You're looking good.
Thank you, Rob. Thank you. Listen, where can everyone follow you on social media?
Raheem _Devaughn on Twitter and Instagram. Once again, that's Raheem _Devaughn. Check me out on the new Clubhouse app too, because I got some cool.
Oh my gosh, you're on Clubhouse. I'm trying to figure it out.
I'm on Clubhouse. I got some cool things coming. You know what I'm saying? I got my club coming, and I do this little cool thing. It's a pop-up now where I do this thing called Sage and Slow Jam. So definitely come check me out on Clubhouse. YouTube.com/Raheem Devaughn, Facebook.com/Raheem Devaughn, and of course, What a Time to Be in Love, produced by the colleagues. My brand new album, number 8. It's on all digital platforms. It's number 1 on right now. Let's just keep it going, man. Let's take the streams to millions and billions.
That's right. What a time to be in love. Thank you so much, Raheem Devaughn. I am Vic Jagger. It's time to wrap up Grown Folk Friday. Of course, it's brought to you by FareRyder, Ride Green and Industrial Bank, your community bank. And now DJ Face is going to take us out of here. Look, with some jams, as he said.
You know how we do. We run the jams. Y'all talked about this joint, and I already had it queued up before you talked about it, because this is my joint off the new album right here. Special occasion. It's an obvious bang. You're such a special occasion. Open doors for you. Cook a meal for you, even feed it to you. Oh, tonight, start a shower for you. Lather and bathe your body down too. Cause like anniversaries, you're such a special occasion. You pull up, lay a while, the fire blaze, baby. Open up, the wine down. When you pull up to my drawers, you pull up, lay a while, bottle play, break it down, rolling up and smoking pop the wine. You're such a special occasion. For all night, if you're in the mood for sweat, if you're in the mood for wet kiss, starting at your earlobes and your neck, baby, if you never. What a time to be in love. This is Up and Down. If you wanna be taste when you naked, Up and Down. Pull up to my plate, put it in my face. Pull your pants to the side, keep the lights on. But baby, come and have a seat. Baby, come and have a seat. Feel it in your stomach. Tell me how you want it. Sit on so you can straddle me. Up and down. I won't drown. Head to toe on your playground. So ride up and down like a seesaw. So grind it good up and down. I won't drown. From head to toe on your playground. So ride up and down like a seesaw. If you need a red light special, I'll conquer your body like a quest. Like a church stand. Wanna help you out that body dress. Baby, if you want to see wine turn to gray, if you need that I'm short night today, that your eyes here. Hey, look, since he talked about it, It wouldn't be proper if I didn't play the joint I did for him on Love Reunion, the album before this. Let's do that.
When you want me, just do it. Oh my, my, my. Oh my, 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 my. Oh my, 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 my. Mahogany princess, my queen, and ebony goddess. You look like you fell out of heaven, like you fell out of heaven. Twinkle, twinkle like a star you shine. That face, my God, that way, oh my God, baby.
Raheem Devaughn, produced by DJ Face. Let's go.
On a Rika, intoxicating like liquor, sweet like honey when I kiss you, tastes like cocoa in the center, aphrodisiac, Afrocentric, exquisite. When that's I'm in your trance, let's leave and make some plans. Oh, it says a little ting ting. Please don't wake me up from dreaming. Just let me marvel over you. Your kiss by the sun. I remix it, tell you another way, experience my love. Can you hear me? Hey, over here. Turn me up. Hey, over here. Yeah. Hey, over here. Hey, over here. That's it. Hey, over here. Wanna know what I'm thinking? Over here. I'll tell you. Hey, over here. Listen. Lady, 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 lady. Lady, 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 baby, 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 I won't do you shady. You're such a special lady. I'll treat you as such. Will we kiss and touch? Promise I'll be worth it. Nothing less than perfect. For me, guess who loves you more? All you need is there's no you without. All you need is here. When you need me, come on. Here's a remix from. You ain't gotta look, I'll be right over here. Hey, over here. Oh. Hey, over here. Hey, hey, over here. Oh. Hey, over here. Hey, over here. Oh. Hey, over here. Hey, 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 over here. Oh. You ain't gotta
Thank you so much, DJ Face. I'm like, hey, oh. Thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in to Grown Folk Fridays. Make sure you rock out with me, 10 a.m. to 3 p.m., DJ in the midday, DJ Face. I appreciate you. And of course, we want to thank our sponsors once again. FareRyder, Ride Green and Industrial Bank, your